Good evening. This is Maestro with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today, we have a Best-of-5 faction war series between the Eldar and the Space Marines. Our first map is going to be Estia Province, and our first player will be Taneli, playing as the Eldar Warlock, melee hero for the Eldar that can also become a spellcaster. Corona-chan will be up next, playing as the Warp Spider Exarch, teleporting ranged commander, good at harassment. And Endor will round it out with a Farseer, support commander for the Eldar. You can also do a little bit of offensive spellcasting. Their opponents on the Space Marine side, we will begin with Cursecrab as the Force Commander. This is a tanky melee hero that can buff and disrupt with Battlecry. And then next up, we're going to have a pair of Apothecaries, healing commanders with a targeted heal and a passive health regeneration aura. Our first one right here will be Kaios23, and then it'll be Overtly Gemerous, of course, playing as his Apothecary. Quite well known for it at this time in these casts. Tactical Marines will be in cover right there. Only yellow cover, but obviously cover at all for Tactical Marines. Very powerful asset given how inherently tanky they already are in Tier 1. Meanwhile, this Force Commander kind of getting focused down as he tries to chase down the Dire Avengers. Dire Avengers will take cover in the garrison, but one model does go down in the process. Yeah, Scouts decide to retreat right there. Kind of dodged the Destructor, but at half health there, less than half health even, they realize that they will just be losing models if they stay any longer. These Tactical Marines also need to be very careful. They're going to take cover in the garrison, which actually does seem a little bit suspect to me. I would actually start moving the Howling Banshees in a position to catch them on a retreat path. Grenade upgrade, yeah, going to come in. This is Eldar. What else do you expect? Tactical Marines not going to get out there completely without injury, but they will get out of there without losing a model. So, meanwhile, it looks like there is some pressure on the natural victory point of the Eldar, as it has been. Certainly, they don't even have it just yet, so our Space Marine player is going to start ticking down victory points in their favor. But it's mostly going to be Space Marines moved off the field, although Overtly Gemerous and Cursecrab now in a rather interesting position, kind of caught behind enemy lines. We are going to see Overtly Gemerous try to move in. Warlock leaps into combat, will get the knockdown. The shotgun blasts are going to be crucial right here. I feel like the shotgun scout's getting pretty close, but that's a lot of damage going onto the Banshees. I believe did a heal go out there? I might have missed it. That definitely was a heal going out that time. As we do see the Purification Rites from Overtly Gemerous to provide that additional knockback to protect against the Howling Banshees. Another heal goes down, this one on the Tactical Marines, but a Tactical Marine model is already down, and that is going to be Space Marines just retreating through the Eldar. All things considered, they actually did not get out of there too badly. This Apothecary is pretty low, but I think he makes it out of there alive. There was a TAC model or two that did go down there, and this Force Commander definitely overextending. He might have just enough health overall that he does get out of there alive, though, even if some Banshees decide to turn on him, which at the moment they have not. Okay, I imagine this Banshee squad is going to go for it, but I don't think they get the kill here. Yeah, like, not even that close. Force Commander already upgraded with the Power Sword, which is an interesting choice against Eldar in particular. There's no power armor to deal with against the Eldar where you would really benefit significantly, specifically from the power melee damage. I mean, it's still definitely an increase in base DPS. A rather modest one, though, only about 11 or 10. It's definitely like 10 and a decimal. Although you also get the power melee is also better against commanders, so it also would help the Force Commander do a little bit better against, say, like the Warlock in melee. Meanwhile, Dire Avengers will go down for Endor. Heal goes down from the Apothecary. Banshees will already be pretty low. Second squad of Banshees comes into the fight. This is actually a little bit dicey for the Assault Marines, as there is not a heal ready for them. Special attack will be procced by the Banshees, but there's just so much focus fire from the Tactical Marines that those Howling Banshees will need to get out of there. They have not even lost a model as of yet, and they won't, in fact. Sneaky Scout's going to be moving around, upgraded with shotguns and a sergeant and the infiltration, so that actually means fully upgraded. Shotgun Blast only knocks over one Ranger model, so they burn through that cooldown without even getting the Rangers off of the cap. Meanwhile, that's going to be full auto out of the Apothecary, so some upgrades coming in from Overtly Gemerous. Got that customized Stormbolter, which grants him that full auto ability. Good as a hero counter, as you get that stun on a single entity. which of course all heroes except for the Lord General are. Assault Marines will jump onto the Guardian Weapon Team. Guardian Weapon Team retreats. We do see the counter initiation from the Banshees to try to slow down the Assault Marines, but a grenade goes in on the Banshees. Dire Avengers getting out of there with just a single model. Assault Marines looking for more of the Howling Banshees looking for more Assault Marine models. One is taken down, but they lose a few in the process themselves. Another squad of Howling Banshees coming in here looking for a fight. War Shout will be used, and that's just going to force the instant retreat from the Tactical Marines, who are pretty lucky not to lose a model right there. So far, aside from, I suppose, the squad loss for Endor, it looks like a pretty good start to the Eldar for me, as it is a over 100-point victory lead. 100 victory point lead, even. 486 to 361. Our Space Marine players also going for rather short Tier 1 builds. No second scout from any of our players. Overtly Gemerous, no even like a third squad, which for him is not at all uncommon. Our Eldar players definitely going for a little bit more. We had double Dire Avenger out of all of our Eldar players. Endor simply lost his. Endor also going for a rather short build, but Corona-chan and Taneli going for much more in Tier 1. The double Ranger out of Corona-chan can be pretty oppressive against the Space Marines, because most Space Marine units are quite vulnerable to this. All right, Howling Banshees will charge in. They should be able to get the War Shout. One Tactical Marine model is already down. Shotgun Blast will come in from the Scouts. That should be enough to force the Howling Banshees off, but the Tactical Marine squad is out of this fight as well. The Rangers will kite away. They should just be looking for shots on some of the Space Marine units soon. Meanwhile, these Assault Marines in a little bit of trouble. I don't know if they might want to look for like a jump out at some point. A jump away from the Howling Banshees. At this point, I don't even know if they want to heal. I think they just want to get out of here. Howling Banshees looking for more. Howling Banshees find 2 models on the Assault Marines and losing only one of their own. Quite a good trade for them. Apothecary is pretty low, but it looks like those Dire Avengers, there's so much pressure put on them with just the massive amount of Space Marine range squads here that they will just have to back off and are not able to finish off that Apothecary. Rangers continue to take shots. Not Force Commander, definitely not the ideal target for them. I mean, of course, they can just do some damage to him to try to force him off the field, but otherwise, those Rangers really want to be focusing on the tanks, and then even more so the Scouts, because that's where the real bleed potential is. I mean, while talking about bleed potential, we've got Howling Banshees in melee yet again with Tactical Marines. Where is the Shotgun Blast? It's got to come out soon. And I think this might be another... Oh, I was going to say it might be another tac squad getting out of there with all 3 models, but I was wrong. And here comes the Falcon out of Endor. We've got another Tier 2 unit out on the field. The Dark Reapers out of Taneli, of course, quite powerful for their anti-heavy infantry damage, since they do Inferno damage. Dark Reapers also quite strong because of the fact that they do have extended range, so they will outrange pretty much all of the Space Marine units that are out on the field right now. So the Assault Marines jump in. They have the Melt-A-Bomb. They will put it on to the Falcon, but is there any follow-up to that even? No follow-up to that, just results in the Assault Marines retreating. They managed to not lose a single model, which is kind of like a good for them situation, but they still didn't achieve a whole lot with that push. Well, maybe it's not accurate to say that they didn't achieve a whole lot with that push, as they did scare the Falcon off. Although once the Falcon was scared off, I think the rest of the Eldar units should have just kind of gone with the Falcon instead of sticking around and fighting. Provide the Falcon with repair support while at the same time getting those reinforcements. Anyway, Shotgun Scouts will be dealing with the Guardian Weapon Team. They're getting in melee with it. And now they're also here in close range against the Dark Reapers. As strong as the Dark Reapers are, this has been a pretty good situation for the Space Marines, getting in really close with those Shotgun Scouts. Meanwhile, Dark nothing. Dark doesn't have anything to do with what I was trying to say. Warlock has some upgrades. Witchblade of Kurnos is in here. 71.43 power melee DPS. I almost feel like that might have been changed over time. I don't remember this weapon actually having that high of a number. Howling Banshee's getting really close to dying. Only the Exarch making it out of there. A lot of bleed there for Corona-chan. Also, the Warp Throw coming onto the Warlock, possibly looking for the Warp Throw into Ethereal/combo. I don't feel that this is the best matchup for that. Certainly it can still work, and whatever squad gets hit by that will probably not want to stick around on the field for too much longer. Man, Tactical Marines at half health, but still all 4 of their models. Kaios, yeah, he's going to be wanting to look for a heal there. That's like a perfect heal opportunity situation for the Apothecary. Still hadn't lost a single model with half of their health. Managed to heal them right back up, and they're almost good as new. They have lost a little bit of health. Now they're taking more damage from the Falcon. Okay, Missile Tack is now in from Overtly Gemerous. He's gone for a second tack in Tier 2. Another heal goes in. This one's actually not the targeted heal. That is going to be the later on the active health regeneration aura, the armor of the Apothecarian. Very, very powerful area of effect heals. Good with Tactical Marines, good with Assault Marines, good with Terminators later on as well. All right, Tactical Marines, meanwhile, running without the support of a Scout Squad. But at this point, I think with the Razorback support, they will just kind of overwhelm the Howling Banshees, even if the Howling Banshees proc some special attacks. This is still looking pretty rough for the Tax. Taking a lot of damage there. I mean, they are just reinforcing off the Razorback. It's a very tack-heavy build out of our Space Marine players. Here is a Wraith Lord putting in the damage from that Shuriken Cannon upgrade. And this is also something I was a little unsure about. Recently, the Shuriken Cannon, right here it says 46.67 piercing DPS. I feel like in the codex on the website, it's showing a different value. This one right here, the 46.67, is the old value that I remember, and if that's still the value, this is a good amount of damage. My God, man, talk about a good amount of damage, a good amount of anti-vehicle damage going on to that Wraith Lord, because I'm pretty sure we've got quad missile launcher attacks. A little surprised to see the quad missile launchers, especially Overtly Gemerous, getting his tax squad in Tier 2. Could have gotten some Stern Guard veterans, which, you know, if I'm honest, I think would honestly just be better overall. Kaios. Now, for Kaios, there's a little bit more of an argument to actually keep it as double attacks because he had them in Tier 1. So both of his tax squads are now actually just level 2. Honestly, even then, I still think keeping one regular tack and getting one Stern Guard would be better than just going for a straight-up double tack. I personally think you need at least like 3 levels to justify not getting a Stern Guard veteran in a double tack build. Anyway, Howling Banshee is going to go down. They're going to be finished off by the sync kill of the Dreadnought right there. So rather unfortunate engagement for Taneli. He will be forced off. And that does mean Space Marines will control the contested victory point for the time being. Meanwhile, these sneaky shotgun scouts actually using their infiltration to find generator bashes. Generator bashes will also be found over here with that engagement win from Cursecrab. Cursecrab coming back into this game pretty nicely in Tier 2 with his Assault Marines. Level 3 Assault Marines is pretty nice. Level 3 tax as well. Getting the kill on those Howling Banshees might have also been part of how they got that. Assault Marines jump in, not the greatest jump, as they will find themselves getting engaged on by the Howling Banshees, but there's so much support now for the Assault Marines that this is a winning fight for the Space Marines. This is, for what was kind of a winning Tier 1 for the Space Marines. Oh my God, the Wraith Lord is already down. There's just so many missile launchers. The Falcon now in such a huge amount of trouble too. The Falcon is gone. Yeah, for what was looking like a good Tier 1 for the Eldar is quickly turning into a very good Tier 2 for the Space Marines. The Razorback even managing to get away from the Inferno damage of the Dark Reapers, doing very light damage. However, a grenade, a plasma grenade of all things, finishes off the Razorback. Little known fact that, yes, grenades can actually do some damage to vehicles. It's just that most of the time, it's not a huge chunk of damage. That Razorback was just pretty low. It had something like 50 hit points. And of course, normally, especially something like a Razorback, should be able to dodge a plasma grenade. In that case, he was just straight up caught. Assault Marines jumping in, though, pretty aggressively, looking for the kill on the Rangers. They're going to find it. They'll find the kill, but oh no, they might pay with it with their lives. Oh man, no, they're not going to. If they only lose one model there, that's definitely worth it. Man, it felt like with the Howling Banshees intercepting them in retreat and them being so low on hit points that they might have suffered more than that. I definitely at least thought they would have lost more than just a single model. Meanwhile, the Farseer had to use Fortune on herself there just to get out of there alive. She was under so much threat. Space Marines just setting up shop right in front of the Eldar natural victory point. And this dead Razorback, I actually think they could keep position right there using the green cover of the dead Razorback. That being said, some sneaky Eldar will be getting a cap, or at least trying to. Looks like the cap will actually be stuffed out by the grenade. Grenade was dodged, but at the cost of retreating away from it. All right, so the Eldar will actually take their natural back. But Space Marines will control the contested victory point for the moment. They don't actually have possession of it, but they're certainly in position to control it, so they should be able to get it back. A few Dire Avenger models going down. Can we make it more? Wow! Only one Dire Avenger model gets out of there alive. Meanwhile, Dark Reapers are starting to put in some work. Double Dark Reapers from Corona-chan now, so Corona-chan going for heavy range spam one way or another, whether it's the double Rangers, now the Dark Reapers. He still has one of the Ranger squads, so that's a lot of potential damage that can be put on the Space Marines from a distance. Can be particularly effective against all of these Tactical Marines, and I think is a pretty appropriate answer for this tack-heavy build from the Apothecary players. This tack-heavy build from the Apothecary players is something that can be very, very powerful in team games, because you get a lot of damage, they get leveled up, you just have so much sustain for them. So I think the Dark Reapers are just a nice answer to that. The double Dark Reapers, because they will do so much damage, and they can outrange the attacks. That's probably the most important thing, because they don't have to trade against the attacks, because they can be out of their range. And that's important, because otherwise, like if you're just going straight up in a straight-up fight against double tacks, level tacks that are supported with Apothecary heals, there are very, very few situations where you're not going to get out-traded by the double tacks with the Apothecary. Meanwhile, Tier 3 for all of our Space Marine players, so really just goes to show you how much they are actually back into this game. Victory points now actually in favor of the Space Marines. And, yeah, I mean, this is actually looking stronger and stronger for our Space Marine players. Land Raider Redeemer coming out on the field. Autocannon Predator is already here. And that's actually just the concede. That is game number 1 in favor of our Space Marine players. But we've got several more games coming up. Game number 2 will take place on Cathari Ruins. We are going to have Taneli on the Warlock, Endor playing as the Farseer, and Corona-chan playing as the Warp Spider Exarch. There he is. Next up, Chaos23 and Overtly Gemerous will still be playing as Apothecaries, but Cursecrab is going to be switching on over to the Tech Marine, Space Marine ranged hero with a gun for every occasion and the ability to repair vehicles. So, Cathari Ruins then. Dire Avengers going to find themselves a fight with some scouts. This is a winning fight for the Dire Avengers. Only thing that the scouts are going to do here is buy time to delay the cap on the contested victory point. Oh, they're looking to buy enough time for a heal. Will it be in time, though? It's pretty close. It's pretty close. They actually managed to get a heal. All right, then. This actually manages to turn things in favor of the scouts. So pretty nice patience, taking advantage of the green cover, and then... All right, here is the approach, though, from Corona-chan, trying to join him. But these Dire Avengers definitely have to go. They definitely have to go. With the Dire Avengers going, Howling Banshee's taking too much unnecessary damage, trying to look for an angle of approach. Warp Spider Exarch is in here pretty far. He's tying up the Tactical Marines, but there's not a whole lot he achieves from this, so he realizes that, and he decides to just teleport out of the situation. Another heal goes on to this squad of Tactical Marines, but they will continue to be approached by the Warlock. Yeah, this is going to be, forced retreat from Kaios. Doesn't have quite enough. So, especially if our Space Marines players kind of continue to play this style of the shorter tier 1s, we're probably going to see a continuing pattern of probably the Eldar players minimally winning tier 1, whether or not that ends up meaning that they win the entire game. As we saw clearly last game, it was tier 1 in favor of our Eldar, but in tier 2, things swung massively in favor of our Space Marine players. That being said, not the greatest start from our Eldar players. They might lose 2 heroes in one engagement. The Farseer will not make it out of there. So now it's up to Taneli to make some kind of, especially on this map, well, actually, maybe not especially on this map, but regardless, he's going for an engagement right here. Another engagement where I feel like this time he's actually engaging kind of down, where he doesn't really have as much. The Warlock is getting pretty low. How long can the Warlock last? All right, the Warlock is going to retreat. So it might be worth Taneli's time, though, to concede the top victory point for a little bit. The Eldar do have a lead in victory points. He's going to see if he can kill the Apothecary, but in that position, it's not even that great. To see if he can help his teammates with a revive. Now, if he doesn't go down there to help them with a revive, yeah, it makes sense. It actually would have made more sense for Corona-chan to buy back. Corona-chan, let me see. Actually, Endor, yeah, he does not have Spirit Stones. I was going to say I felt it would make more sense for Corona-chan to buy back because Corona-chan was farther ahead, as well as the fact that he is the Warp Spider Exarch, which makes it easier for him to both get into a position to attempt a revive, as well as it's easier for him to get out if that position is compromising. Grenade goes in. Oh, my God. For a second there, I was wondering, is that grenade... Oh, no, there were still so many more Howling Banshee models. But still, nice 2-model kill with that grenade. As it's still a double cap for our Eldar, and the Farseer still not even going for the revive on Corona-chan. I would have thought that would have been part of the reason why he went for that. So Corona-chan just going to try to operate without his commander for the moment. This looks very curious. Our Space Marine players this time going for Devastator heavy play. It's pretty curious, and I don't understand it. If I'm honest, I don't fully approve of it, and I'm concerned that that will not work out quite as well, but time will tell. With any luck for them, they'll prove me wrong. So far, this one Devastator gets the suppression on the Guardian Weapon team, but then the other Guardian Weapon team will get the suppression on the Devastator Marine squad. All right, meanwhile, Guardian Weapon team. No, yet another Guardian Weapon team in here. We're seeing a lot of the counter suppression, but the grenade goes in. What an ambitious grenade from the Dire Avengers. They do connect it, but it's still not exactly helping them win the fight, as it's both the Guardian Weapon team as well as the Dire Avenger squad forced off the field. They got the grenade, but the Devastator was just able to reset up, and there were so many other units here to help out the Devastators that the Dire Avengers lose 3 models in the process. The Devastators didn't even lose a single one. So this is looking like... Well, we'll see what it's looking like. Dire Avengers moving out here for Endor, still with no aspect. So he's trying to save those costs on the Dire Avenger aspect so that he can get to Tier 2 a bit earlier. And, I mean, that means a few things for him. Endor does not have the grenades available to him, and his Dire Avengers are also quite a bit squishier. They still do full damage, though. Getting the aspect does not actually increase the damage of the squad. At any rate, we are going to see Tactical Marines potentially in a little bit of trouble. The Immolator Blade will be picked up by the Warlock. I actually don't know why we call it the Immolator Blade. I feel like I've been saying that for 10 years, even though it's actually just called the Immolator. And the Immolator, it's an interesting choice in this matchup. Personally, overall, I feel that the Merciless Witchblade is better against Space Marines. I imagine part of the reason why he wants to do this is he wants to use the Immolate ability as a way of trying to dislodge the Devastators. But I also feel that Immolate is not so strong for that purpose. I mean, it'll do some damage, but I don't think it does enough by itself that'll force off Devastators, especially against Apothecary players who can just top it up with a heal. Although at the same time, healing Devastators is usually not considered the most valuable use of the heal. Turret is going to be put up right here. That's kind of a curious position for a turret, especially considering the Eldar can actually capture this point without having to go into the turret's range. That being said, Devastator Marine Squad will set up in the range of the victory point, and then to try to deal with the Devastator Marine Squad, they will have to go into the range of the turret. Unless they're shooting it with Rangers, of course. But it's a big victory point lead for the Eldar. Sneaky scouts coming around, and using their infiltration, they managed to successfully find both of the Guardian weapon teams. They'll start shooting on the back one. Grenade will go in. They managed to save just enough energy to use a grenade. So that'll force off one Guardian weapon team. The other one probably actually had enough time to turn around if the reactions were just a little bit better. The reactions aren't quite there. We're going to have a second scout squad here to provide assistance. I was going to say, where are they going? I mean, I guess looking for a generator bash. They're not going to use the grenade there because they need to use the energy for the shotgun blast to stop the Howling Banshees, which is overall the better play. Allows them to keep their position here without having the Banshees just start proccing special attacks back and forth against the Tactical Marines. They can start looking for a generator bash. I think even under the fire of this Falcon, I think they can bash at least 2 generators, maybe 3. And if they're really bold, I think there's a possibility for the whole farm. But they'll start backing off immediately. I think if they played just a little bit more aggressively, they could have gotten at least 1 other generator. But there's also a possibility that would have meant getting suppressed at some point. Retreats would have been forced, and then they would have lost more positioning. Meanwhile, the Tech Marine, it's very curious that he decided to stay here. And yeah, that's just going to be a retreat there. He does not stand a chance against all of that. Meanwhile, grenades are going out somewhere. That's going to be a grenade going out from some more infiltrated scouts. Meanwhile, the Warlock is going to move in here. Just kidding, not the Warlock. I mean the Apothecary. It's almost the same thing, except it's not. The Apothecary, does he go down here from the Howling Banshees on retreat? It's getting pretty low. Indeed, he will. Sink kill by the Howling Banshees. A few of those Shuriken pistol shots. Meanwhile, Devastator Marines actually suffering quite a bit under the pressure of both the Immolate. I think Destructor was used there as well. And there was also just the ranged firepower of all of these squads. So Dire Avengers will bash this generator. They do it quite slowly, as we can see here. Only 2 squads of Dire Avengers, along with some Rangers. Rangers are notoriously quite bad at bashing generators. All right, so it's going to be quite a few generators down. In fact, the Eldar getting quite a bit more generator bashing done. It'll be the whole farm. I think they'll go for the node as well, and I think they'll get it now that there's so much more support here, even though the Dire Avengers from Corona-Shan kind of sleeping on the job. Dire Avengers from Corona-Shan still without their aspect. And that's starting to seem a little curious to me. I feel like, we're in Tier 2 now. I definitely understand. Okay, and finally they start getting it. Yeah. Oh, no, but they're not dodging the grenade. Oh, no, 1 squad gets wiped. He might have been waiting for reinforcements from the Falcon, but they just took too much damage there. Oh, no. Yeah, I was gonna try to say, like, I understand saving on power by not getting Dire Avenger aspects in Tier 1 as a way of getting to Tier 2 faster. I think that's perfectly reasonable. But come Tier 2, to help your Dire Avenger scale, I think you just get the aspect. Like, I don't think you try to save the resources on Dire Avenger aspects to try to rush Tier 3. I don't really agree with that strategy. All right, then. Howling Banshees tried to make something happen there, but unfortunately there were shotgun scouts. There were also some Space Marines who knew no fear. We're going to see some healing over time coming in from the Apothecary, who I can barely even see. A group teleport, though. Group teleport coming in only with a squad of fire dragons. Is this enough to take out the whirlwind? It will be. Okay, a nice play there from Corona-chan. Group teleport. A rather small group, though. Might lose another fire dragon or two in the process, but for taking out the whirlwind, that was worth it. So the improved warp generator, granting that group teleport ability. Normally when you see this used, you'll see bigger group teleports involving like some Howling Banshees. Usually going for some cheesy strats and trying to wipe some squads. Meanwhile, another whirlwind is going to be out. One from Overtly Gemerous. Kyos has one of his own building. Shotgun Scouts slowing down those Banshees. One model goes down, and that will be the retreat for them. The Farseer still trying to see if she can get this point, though. Falcon trying to put some damage pressure on, but needs to be very, very careful about this Las Cannon Devastator. Grenade goes in on the Farseer. She will just barely be able to finish the cap and even be able to make it out of there alive. So the Warlock can barely move under the barrage as he puts Immolate on the Devastator Marines. And we can see there, yeah, like I don't personally feel that that amount of damage is super impactful against a Devastator Marine squad, especially when you do have an Apothecary player. Anyway, double Whirlwinds looking to disrupt much of the Eldar army. No Eldar getting disrupted there, though. Okay, we're going to see some disruption going in from the Whirlwind from Overtly Gemerous. I do wish that the Whirlwind had a sound effect. I feel like we're this far in Elite Mod's life that we could get probably some kind of sound effect, even if it's just like the TAC missile launcher sound effect, which probably would not sound perfect, but I think it would sound better than nothing. Kind of like how for the Dark Reapers, they have a sound effect there that I don't feel is perfect, but I think it's better than having nothing. Fire Dragons, of course, will just use the same Melta sound effect that, you know, most of the Melta weapons, as well as the fusion guns, the fusion gun of the Autarch use, or at least it's very similar. Quick generator bashing coming out of these Fire Dragons. Shotgun Blast on the Guardian weapon team will force it off as well. Generators, more generators will be put down for the Space Marines. Still a big victory point lead, though, for our Eldar players. Wow, what a massive infantry army out of Taneli, going with the double Reapers. He also has the Bright Lance as a way of trying to deal with the vehicles. Otherwise, he would not have much in terms of vehicle, anti-vehicle. But it's not like we actually have really significant... Oh my god, another grenade going in! Our Eldar players just not on it with their grenade dodges today. But yeah, not exactly a whole lot in terms of vehicle armor for the moment for our Eldar players, or rather for our Space Marine players. So our Eldar players don't necessarily need anti-vehicle. That being said, Howling Banshees, do they get out of here alive? 24 hit points. I think they get out alive. Yeah, they just barely get out of range of the Tactical Marines that were shooting after them. Yeah, I mean, infantry heavy army for the Space Marines, that's a good situation for the Dark Reapers. They will just absolutely go to town. And honestly, double Dark Reapers can actually put quite a bit of pressure on a very weak vehicle like this Whirlwind, a light vehicle, so to speak. Meanwhile, the Whirlwind, I was about to say, is it going to drive into the firing arc of the Guardian weapon team? Meanwhile, Scouts moving up, but they're moving right up into the fire of the Dark Reapers. They'll just lose a model there, go down to half of their health, and then have to retreat. Shotgun Scouts are pretty far away from home. They will need to get out of there as well. This Warlock, does he have any other upgrades? We're going to see the Warp Throw again. So we're seeing Taneli preferring a little bit more of that spellcasting, some more of the spellcasting builds out of the Warlock. How about our other Eldar players? Endor with the Spirit Stones. Of course, we've already seen the improved Warp Generator. Immolate on the Whirlwind really does not do much. Similar builds that we've seen before from our Apothecary players. Customized Stormbolter, Purification Rites. We'll see the armor of the Apothecarian out of Overtly Gemerous. Cursecrab with the Mastercrafted Bolter and the Signum Armor. Yep, the Mastercrafted Bolter, one of those damnable human guns. Meanwhile, the disruption for from all those Whirlwinds definitely doing some work on the Eldar. But the Eldar are also doing quite a bit of work on those victory points. They've got a triple cap. We're down to almost less than 50. Oh my god, is that an Eldritch Storm? And the Tactical Marines, or is it a Singularity? That is a singularity. Tactical Marines will be pulled in. Model goes down. They're down to 2. Howling Banshee's going to look and see if they can take out another one. And they won't be able to get it, but now they can also just put pressure on the Whirlwind. Oh, the Howling Banshees did go down to 1 model eventually, and only 37 hit points. They almost found the kill there. Looks like they might find the kill on the Whirlwind. This is the great chase, the great escape. 1 hit point, and that will be it. That is a Whirlwind down. Predator, meanwhile, is out on the field at this point. The Banshees seem to have been forgotten about. They need to just get out of here before they lose too many models or even the whole squad. Because they may be able to do some light damage to the Predator, but the Predator will out-trade it quite massively. Howling Banshees have been forgotten about. What else is going on here? Okay, it's a no-cap game at the moment. But we're seeing Eldar players pick up victory points at the bottom, at the top. Top victory point is being stalled out by the Whirlwind, but unless our Space Marine players can pick up another victory point elsewhere, maybe the middle, but even there, Eldar players are ready to defend it. This could be the end of Game 2 in favor of the Eldar. So nice to see a D-Cannon. I feel like I haven't seen D-Cannons as much lately. I've heard that they've been nerfed a bit over the years. Oh, and the Predator goes down. Going into the firing arc of the Guardian Weapon team as we do have some last-minute desperation plays. Fire Prism will also help secure the kill on the Whirlwind. And that should be game number 2 going in favor of our Eldar players. We still have some attempts at Space Marine caps, but the singularity from the D-Cannon just making it impossible. Another model gets killed there from getting pulled in. It's still a no-cap game, though. Unfortunately, friendly fire, the artillery. Artillery is on both sides, just not in favor of our Space Marine players. So victory points ticking down once again in favor of the Eldar, and this time it will decisively be the victory for them. Game number 3 will take place on Hades Waste. Taneli playing as that Warlock yet again. Endor, of course, can be on the farce here while I try to figure out vowels. Corona-chan will be playing as the Warp Spider Exarch. Kyle's 23, yet again on the Apothecary. Overtly Gemerous. Does he play anything else? And Cursecrab switching back over to the Force Commander. All right, then, so our series is tied up as we move on over from the jungle to the desert. Actually, I'm not even really sure if Cathari is a jungle. I don't actually remember seeing that much foliage. It was ruins. They're ruins. So we'll go from the ruins to the desert. All right, the Warlock has gained the attention of these scouts, but I think that's probably pretty good for him. He'll get into melee. He'll knock them down with that leap into combat. Dire Avengers will also help out, but Tactical Marines will deter the Dire Avengers a little bit further. Howling Banshee is going to help out with this approach. Destructure will be laid in on the Tactical Marines. Heal will be thrown out on the Scouts, however, not saved for the Tactical Marines. Try to keep both the Scouts and the Tactical Marines in play. Right now it is the Eldar really pushing up pretty aggressively, but the Howling Banshees are so low for Corona-chan that they will need to get out of there. Force melee from the Tactical Marines takes down another model. Will they manage to get another one down with range fire in retreat? They will. Can they get yet one more? No. It'll just be going down to 2 models for that squad. Meanwhile, on this side, what a leap in by that Warlock, knocking over another Scout model. But where is the support? Howling Banshees are in a good position. That Apothecary, unless there's a Shotgun Blast being upgraded for the Scouts, I think this has to be a lost engagement for the Space Marines. So, lost engagement for the Space Marines there, but we do have our Space Marine players now pushing the aggression back in their favor. We do have some Dire Avengers coming in from a flanking angle, while the Howling Banshees approach from the front. Scouts in a huge amount of trouble. Oh my god, that's... okay. Clutch heal coming in at that moment. Might have needed it. Might have been better if it had come a little bit earlier, before they were down to just a single model. Otherwise, though, that squad would have been wiped. Meanwhile, the Dire Avengers now also in quite a bit of trouble, and this will be Another fight win for the Space Marines. Yeah, Warp Spider Exarch in melee there, but realizes also that he needs to get out. All right, then. Force Commander, still just drawing some aggro, but I don't know if I like him spending too much of his hit points just to buy time. Does he have a battle cry ready for these Howling Banshees? If he does not have a battle cry ready, this is actually a little bit suspect. All right, he managed to get out of there. He's pretty lucky that special attack was not procced on him. All right. Ooh, Howling Banshees try to get in melee. Immediately knocked back by the Purification Rites. At this point, I feel like you just kind of got to expect that from our Apothecary players. Overtly Gemerous, definitely someone who I know he goes for that. I've seen it from him in previous casts. Kaios, on the other hand, well, I don't know his Apothecary quite a bit as well, or as much as Overtly Gemerous, since he does play a little bit more of a let's start that over, of a variety of heroes. Oh, we got a grenade coming in. Coming in where? Yeah, there it is. Does take out 2 Dire Avenger models. Pretty nice grenade. Meanwhile, the Warp Spider Exarch here. He's trying to capture that point. Scouts will eventually lose this fight. I actually don't like the Scouts even taking cover here. I don't like them being in that fight at all, and they lose a model anyway, even with the cover. They're just massively outgunned there. The Scouts, with Bolter Scouts, just don't do that much damage. 7 DPS per model means 21 as a whole squad. It's just not that much. In a head-to-head fight, they get out-traded by just about any other squad. You need to either use them to focus down melee squads from a distance, or make sure you're not using them alone, or upgrading to shotguns. All right, then. Oh, no. This is quite a position Overtly Gemerous has found himself in. There is some support on the way coming from Kaios, but will it be in time? Nevertheless, the support from Endor might be a little bit slow on supporting this is Taneli, but it's still definitely a winning fight. The Assault Marines will be jumping in for Kaios, but now Kaios is basically going to be fighting 1v2, I think. His Assault Marines are in here. Where is the Apothecary with the heals? Grenade going to go in and still not be dodged. So more models going down. So quite a few raw grenades that have been getting value. Meanwhile, the Force Commander will also be going down. Tactical Marines, yeah, they need to just get out of there. As soon as Banshees are in melee with them, in many cases that's a loss and you need to just get out, unless you've got a shotgun blast ready, or unless you actually just have the Banshees so overwhelmed that you can actually provide enough focus fire to deter them. But if you're outnumbered and Banshees are on your tax are getting out of there. And this should be enough for a full generator bash. We already have the second one about to go down. They'll just retarget to the third. We've just got so much damage here between the double Dire Avengers, the Howling Banshees, and the Warlock. However, the Assault Marines, or rather the Guardian Weapon team, possibly set up a little bit too far forward. Assault Marines will jump on it. Assault Marines already really low on health, though. I actually want the Dire Avengers. I would like it better if they focus on the Assault Marines to get the Assault Marines off. But actually, they're putting so much pressure on the Scouts. Oh my god, oh my god. And he gets the Assault Marines anyway. That's a huge win in that fight. Yeah, huge win. Really, really rough for Kaios there. Meanwhile, Cursecrab seems to be suffering a little bit as well. We will see a revive by the Apothecary. Force Commander, does Cursecrab realize he's up? Okay, looks like he does. Gonna kill another Ranger model there. And what are our upgrades looking like? Pretty typical upgrades for our Apothecary players. Nothing for Cursecrab, and only that the Immolator once again for Taneli. Really liking that. And the Immolator is something that over time it was buffed, where it also does some damage over time on its ranged attacks. I'm not sure how really strong it is, but I mean it's better than it was than when it did no damage on its ranged attacks, or no damage over time on its ranged attacks. right, then full auto will be going out on the Guardian Weapon Team. Does go into the lead model, so that does stop the Guardian Weapon Team from suppressing, or rather shooting. But it's still a lost fight here for Kaios. I mean, he doesn't have much of an army. He's going for it. A Plasma Devastator. That's right now with not much of an army. With not much of an army, going into Tier 2, getting a P-Dev like this right now is very suspect. We'll see if it works out for him. I mean, on the one hand, one thing you could say about Plasma Devastators is, like, they're not necessarily viewed as the most reliable or crucial unit, but when they work, they tend to have a high impact. Which is, if you're getting some fat shots with your Plasma Devastator, you're just, like, giving models, you're nuking down squads from, like, 100 hit points to, like, 40, and then they either have to get off the field or, like, reinforce from a transport. Double Assault Marines jumping in. I don't think either one of them has actually tied up the Guardian Weapon Team, but there's so much stuff going on. I think that might have been Merciless Strikes, maybe, kind of nuking down the Dire Avengers. So the Double Assault Marines not doing too bad, but they might be reaching their limit. But they wiped the Banshees in the process. Oh my god, that was actually a huge win for Cursecrab. Except for the fact that he had to retreat. So actually that's the main thing that ends up not being a huge win. But still, he lost one Assault Marine model, but killed a Banshee squad. Oh man, I'm missing grenades. Dark Reapers will take some shots on the Apothecary, fully upgraded right now with a build that we very much come to expect, and I imagine this won't even be the last time we see this build, as we still have at least one more game left in this series. Yes, same exact build from Overtly Gemerous. Double cap, though, for the Eldar, so they will maintain the victory point lead. We've seen squad wipes back and forth. Oh, no. Okay, for a second, when I saw the Tactical Marines disappear from Kaios' unit tab, I thought he lost another squad, but instead he just traded out his Tactical Marines for Stern Guard veterans. Meanwhile, double Howling Banshees right here. These Howling Banshees, they're both from Taneli, actually, just realized. Double Howling Banshees. Wow, going double Howling Banshees without even going for Channeling Runes to provide some heals. Quite bold of Taneli. Meanwhile, I think this Falcon is done. I think there's one more shot. No, wow. Not getting another shot off. It seemed like that Falcon had trouble getting around. Oh, man. I'm going to blame, actually, the Assault Marines for not having a Melt-A-Bomb. No Melt-A-Bomb on the Assault Marines. Double missile launchers out of Overtly Gemerous, but not a single Melt-A-Bomb out of Cursecrab between two Assault Marine squads. I feel like a Melt-A-Bomb there on one of them would have secured the kill on that Falcon. Meanwhile, Shotgun Scouts will engage at close range with the Dire Avengers. These are Taneli's Dire Avengers. He has absolutely lost track of them, and they will just disappear, or rather explode into giblets. Another squad loss. How have Kaios' Devastator Marines been doing? For the moment, they do own the contested victory point, and they will take control of it. And, of course, that's often just one of the strong things about Devastator Marines in team games. Oh, no, a complete miss. I talked about how your Devastator Marines, if they're having an impact, it tends to be a high one. Unfortunately, here, they did not have an impact in that fight, because the Warlock was completely uncontested. There was nothing to stop him from just walking up to the Devastator Marines, tying it up, and pressuring them off the field. Meanwhile, this Apothecary by himself, the aggressive purification rites, I don't agree with that one as much, especially when there's nothing here to support you and make something of that fight. Apothecary also being chased after. He's spending a lot of health here with whatever this commando mission is. This commando Apothecary mission, of all things, it gets the tie up on the Guardian Weapon Team, but I don't think there's enough friendly units here to really fully take advantage of this. He'll get the heal again, another Purification Rite Seal, the Assault Marines, and there are Assault Marines here to jump on the Guardian Weapon Team anyway. Still no Melt-A-Bomb, though. So there's a lot of threat that they lack against the Falcon. And yet, the Assault Marine jump still forces off most of the Eldar infantry, which does strike me as a little bit surprising. You've got Banshees here, you've got a Falcon. There's no Melt-A-Bomb. I suppose there was at least one missile tack squad in the vicinity. Devastator Marines, if they get wiped here, oh my god. Yeah, unfortunately those Devastator Marines, I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt, and those Devastator Marines really did not get too much value. All right, then. Eldar continuing to bash these generators, looking to see if they can get one more before they finally get forced off, but eventually they will have to retreat as there is an overwhelming Space Marine force coming out of here. Grenade goes in. Oh my god, what a grenade. So many models taken down. In fact, that was one of the squads, I believe. Oh my god. Only one lone Banshee model between the two squads makes it out of there. That grenade on retreat coupled with the Stern Guard Hellfire rounds proving to be quite a problem. Meanwhile, Angels of Death will be activated. Our Space Marine players, they do have to make something happen here in terms of they're getting pretty low on victory points. These are the Stern Guard veterans from Chaos. Oh no, where are these scouts going? Oh no, they grenade themselves! This is not Chaos's game. Missile attacks chasing after the Falcon, but with no Melt-A-Bomb, I think the Falcon just drives on out of there. And as much as these may be tacks, they're going to get pressured a bit by the Immolator. Heal used on the Apothecary instead. I feel like if much of the Eldar army tries to focus on the tacks here, they could have their way with them, especially... Well, actually, no. The Falcon needs to be super careful against double missile launcher attacks. All right, Assault Marines looking to jump in, so they will jump in on the Dark Reapers, who have been upgraded with the aspect of the Reaper. A call-in going to happen here. This has to just be a tack squad. Oh no, this is not the greatest tack drop pod. Yeah, I mean, if your drop pod tack squad has to instantly retreat, it definitely was not a successful drop pod call-in. And I do personally feel that the optimal way of using the TAC drop pod is using it to actually, not just to call in tactical Marines at reduced cost, but using the drop pod itself and the fact that you can choose the positioning of the TACs to win an engagement, which looks like that was the attempt there, but there was just not enough support and it did not work out. Meanwhile, Taneli, wow, in Tier 3, he's got triple Rangers. When did this happen? The funny thing is these triple Rangers, these are Tier 2 Rangers, as in they were purchased in Tier 2. Like, if they're in the unit tab to the right of Dark Reapers, that means that they were purchased after. Meanwhile, Dark Reapers possibly going down for Corona Chan, 9 hit points, and they get out of there alive. So deciding in Tier 2 to go for triple Rangers is pretty funny. Maybe not so much for the Space Marines. They might not find it so funny when their scout models might just get one-shotted with a single volley out of the triple snipers. All right, it's a big victory point lead for our Eldar players once again. Here's the approach from Chaos. The Blood Ravens will make their approach. It's only a tack squad and a Stern Guard veteran squad up against the world, and it's not going to be enough as the Apothecary is forced off the field. And They Shall Know No Fear has been activated. I don't know if this is enough. They don't even have Hellfire rounds loaded in. They're doing a lot of damage to this Ranger squad, though. Apparently, Taneli has already lost one Ranger squad. Yeah, ultimately that was not going to work. Fire Prism's now out for both Endor as well as Taneli, and this is something that I think is going to seal the deal. Like, our Eldar players are already in such a strong position. They have so much of a bigger army. The Fire Prism is something that, especially when you have a smaller army than your opponent, I think it's incredibly difficult to deal with. Looks like a lot of Space Marine models going down here, as I'm seeing a few plus 18s and plus 17s. Force Commander looking to get in here. He's got a teleporter, he's got some Artificer armor, and he's got the Thunderhammer. Uses his special attack, but the Dark Reapers have already hit the retreat button, so they will be getting out of here. Dark Reapers as well as Dire Avengers. Space Marines looking for some kind of desperation cap on the Eldar Natural. Don't know how well this is going to work out. Terminators have been called in by Overtly Gemerous. He will use the Purification Right Seal to knock over the Farseer. That does force a retreat from her. Howling Banshees up here. Howling Banshees will probably have to retreat, but I still see this as most likely a win for the Eldar players. I mean, there's not a whole lot they can do about the Fire Prisms, as long as the Fire Prisms just stay comfortably out of the range of the missile attack squads. Even the Terminators I don't think are going to do that great at the moment. Seer Council, meanwhile, doing a lot. Eventually, a Seer Council will have to go, but I still think... Let's see. Okay, with the Seer Council off the field, Guardian Weapon Team is not set up to fight. The Guardian Weapon Team is capping. But one of those tack squads already down to just one model. A few Dire Avenger models going down. Assault Marines doing some work, but they will retreat as well. Meanwhile, over here, Space Marines will be chasing after some Eldar in retreat. Vengeance rounds loaded in for the Stern Guards. Now switching to Kraken Bolts. Kraken Bolts to try to deal with, I suppose, the Dark Reapers. Generally speaking, it's actually a little bit simpler to just toggle between Kraken Bolts. It's simpler to just toggle between Vengeance rounds and Hellfire. Obviously, it's more optimal if you actually do switch over to Kraken Bolts when dealing with heavy infantry, but Vengeance rounds are actually not that much worse against heavy infantry than Vengeance rounds. Let's try that again. Vengeance rounds are not that much worse against heavy infantry than Kraken Bolts. All right, then. So Eldar. Yep, more Eldar capping. Warlock going to go down, so small victories for our Space Marine players. Silver linings. Tactical Marines in a huge amount of trouble, though. They have 4 models. They can't stay in there any more, and they will lose a model. Okay, Assault Marine's going to jump in, but they're going to find themselves... There's Seer Council here. Even with a Merciless Strike, if they're going to be jumping into Seer Council, that's a problem. Seer Council, though, will retreat. Apparently, there's actually just so much support for the Assault Marines that the Eldar army is forced off. Okay, so our Space Marine players still trying to make something of this game. Overtly Gemerous and Cursecrab managed to push into the Eldar natural victory point. They will manage to stall out the victory points at 1-1, and even possibly looking for a double cap. That being said, the Predator for Kaios is in so much trouble now, going to be targeted by the Fire Prism. Here is an orbital bombardment, though, and it looks like the Eldar have been caught. That's a lot of Eldar squads caught in there. Of course, the vehicles have no reason to just be caught in there. How well will this work out? A lot of squads caught. Were there any squads that were wiped? Here's the cleanup crew coming from Cursecrab, and that's kind of what you need. Because when you're caught in the orbital bombardment, if your squads are at full health, they shouldn't die. And that's why you want some kind of cleanup through. And that's kind of true for a lot of nukes in this game. Usually you want your armies nearby to try to clean up, and that's really the optimal play. So there was a little bit of a cleanup crew from Cursecrab. They did a little bit of cleaning up. Taneli actually suffering quite a bit now. The Seer Council moving in pretty far. Unfortunately, Seer Council may be super damaging, but they're not super tanky. All right, then. The Dark Reapers, though, doing damage from range. Is that an Eldritch? That is going to be an Eldritch. The Eldritch, though, doesn't completely catch them. All right, then. So in the end, it does look like that's going to be a 1 engagement for the Eldar. That means they will be able to take the contested victory point. Warlock trying to see if he can find the kill on that last Tactical Marine, but I don't think he will. Meanwhile, Seer Council chasing after the Terminators. Seer Council will absolutely rip the Terminators apart. We've got heals coming in, though, to try to keep them alive. And the Seer Council now are at about half their health, and they do have to contend with this Las Cannon Predator taking some shots at them. The Seer Council at this point, I swear they've just been forgotten about, or maybe they're just trying to buy time as they're being hard focused on by the entire Space Marine army. But while this is happening, Eldar are looking for a triple cap. The triple cap will be brief, but it might be enough to just seal this game, because even if our Space Marine players take this victory point back, it won't be enough. They need to at least neutral out another one for this to still be a game. Assault Marines will jump in here. Merciless Strike going to be used. That will manage to scare the Guardian Weapon team off. They might even look for the kill on the Guardian Weapon team. They'll pick it up, but at this point, it's a small victory. Oh my god, Scouts tried to get the victory point in the middle, but they were actually just cleaned up. They were just wiped. Here's going to be, is this a double Eldritch? Or is it an Eldritch with a singularity? One of those TAC models, one of those TAC squads goes down, even with the Angels of Death, and that will be game number 2 going in favor of the Eldar. Game number 4 is going to take place on Argus Desert Gate. Corona Chan now switching on over to the Warlock while I figure out how cameras work. Endor will be playing as the Farseer once again, and Taneli will now be on the Warp Spider Exarch. Their opponents, however, Chaos 23 going to be on the Apothecary along with the rest of the Space Marine team. Overtly Gemerous as well, of course, and Cursecrab, his first time in this series, going over to the Apothecary. All right, then. So, Argus Desert Gate, previously, in the olden days, one of the most common 3v3 maps in the game. I think it was probably Calderis Refinery and Argus Desert Gate were kind of just the go-to maps. These days, they have been supplanted, I think I'm using that word correctly, by Estia Province and Katrin Purification Plant. Howling Banshees will look for this requisition point because there's honestly nothing more exciting going on at the moment. Scouts now seemingly getting into melee. And the Scouts, I don't know. I'm just going to say Scouts miss micro. Scouts should never have gone in that far. They're going to lose a model. They're in melee with the Warp Spider Exarch. There is that model. You know, the Apothecary trying to chase after the Dire Avengers. We also have the Tactical Marines right here. They force the retreat on the Dire Avengers. But the Howling Banshees are still here, and so is the Warp Spider Exarch. Howling Banshees might want to look at trying to get into this corner where they can circumvent the... kind of use that line of sight blocker as a way of helping them get into melee a little bit easier. Meanwhile, looks like our Eldar players having a pretty strong offensive in the top lane. It looks like we have a double here from, you know, this is both, who are our players here? Endor is one of them. Endor and Corona-chan will be up here. Meanwhile, Dire Avengers willingly giving their lives to try to get that requisition point, and they won't even get it. This positioning from the Farseer, pretty aggressive. Unfortunately, she kind of pays for it. She won't pay for it with her life, but she will nevertheless be forced off. All right, the Howling Banshees, they will get into melee with the Tactical Marines. Meanwhile, we've got a little bit of a commando mission going on here from Overtly Gemerous. While all that's happening, he will actually just look for a generator bash. He's actually bashing the node, so he might be looking to actually take the power for his own team at some point. This is going to be a funny one. All right, then. So, I was kind of pausing for a moment. Meanwhile, oh no, Chaos 23 lost the squad. This time he actually did lose the squad. shotgun blast knocking down those Howling Banshees. They took so much damage from those shotguns. Shotguns also, yeah, I mean, four scouts with shotguns, just going to be a lot of damage. Meanwhile, these shotgun scouts themselves just hiding behind there, while the Howling Banshees just kind of go to town here. I mean, double Howling Banshees out of Taneli. That's something that a single squad of shotgun scouts cannot actually deal with. Grenade is stepped on by the Howling Banshees. 2 models go down. Our Space Marine players will have to move out, though. They will not be able to take the contested victory point at this time. Or maybe they will. They're just going to go in forward because the Guardian weapon team unset up. Grenade thrown, then canceled. Shotgun scouts still putting more pressure on this here. The Guardian weapon team did not set up, even though the scouts were not moving, because he was anticipating a grenade being thrown, which was kind of like a little game of chicken there. Cursecrab not actually going for it. A lot of grenade fake-outs from Cursecrab. I wonder if all of them are intentional. All right, our Space Marine players certainly going to at least hold their natural.
We must arm for even crueler warfare. You shall have it.
Meanwhile, these scouts, they are going to be looking for these Dire Avengers, and if they can't get the Dire Avengers, they'll probably just look for these generators. Dire Avengers, what are you doing? Are you trying to look for a grenade here? I think the Dire Avengers need to just get out of here before they take a grenade on retreat. They managed to dodge one grenade, though. But, man, this is going to be a lot of generator bashing right here. If this is Warp Spiders, no, this is Group Teleport. I was going to say, if that was a Warp Spider call-in, I feel like they could punish it. I think to some extent they could still punish it. So many shotguns. They need a shotgun blast. Oh, that second shotgun blast, I feel a little bit late. I think the second shotgun blast needed to come a little bit earlier. But it looks like, okay, one squad of scouts is off the field. One squad of Howling Banshees is off the field. The second squad of Howling Banshees needs to get out of here before they get wiped entirely. And the Rangers are way too close. Rangers have 65 range. Shotgun scouts have like 20-something. Rangers should never be that close. Grenade will go in. All right, then. So triple scouts now for Kaios. Triple shotgun scouts even. Quite an interesting build at this point in the game. He's still trying to mess around here with these Dire Avengers. So many things going on in so many different places. Tactical Marines they should be able to get into melee with this Guardian weapon team. Yeah, that's the Guardian weapon team that has to go. I mean, the flank here happens on the Rangers. Right now, we've got our Space Marine players are kind of bamboozling our Eldar players. So many words that are just struggling to come out of my mouth here. And it is mostly Overtly Gemerous who's doing a lot of this bamboozling. A lot of these flanks from Overtly Gemerous, but of course at some point he kind of gets punished for it too. He's gonna get the decap on this power though. Is he? He's gonna, yeah, he's still gonna try for it. He's just moving the Tactical Marines a little bit farther back. Tactical Marines still going for this. This gets a little bit more risky, but there is a shotgun scout squad here from Cursecrab that could help them out here and cover their retreat. And he puts the node on it. Oh my god. That does a lot to delay the power for the Eldar. But we already do have Eldar players going into Tier 2. And in fact, we already have a Falcon out of Endor. So whereas our Space Marine players are only just getting to Tier 2, Cursecrab, the first one there, Overtly Gemerous needs to get his Apothecary out of here before he gets killed. Yeah, and he'll just use a Purification Rites heal. Knocks over the Howling Banshees, and that's actually pretty much like a guaranteed retreat at that point. I think he was still kind of playing with fire in the sense that if the Apothecary had gotten knocked down by a Banshee special attack at the wrong time, then it could have resulted in a kill before he was able to get that Purification Rites heal. Falcon will open fire on the Devastator Marines, and that's enough to scare the Devastator Marines off the field. I feel like there's a chance there of keeping them out on the field, but at the moment there needs to be some kind of answer to the Falcon. And what is that answer going to be? Cursecrab. Does he even have enough for a missile launcher? He could. He could put a missile launcher on one of these tack squads, and that at least would give him, short-term answer against the Falcon. He wouldn't have to concede too much ground, because he could at least force the Falcon to play with a little bit more respect. Wow, our Eldar players, they're still... Oh my god, they... And this is... Yeah, Overtly Gemerous is actually... They're really getting hoodwinked by Overtly Gemerous here in this game. Better get it now before he puts another one down. Well, how is Kaios doing with this rather interesting build? Sanguine Chainsword, so we are going to see things switched up a little bit, whereas the rest of our Apothecary players really going for the tried and true things they've been going for all series. The customized Stormbolter, Armor of the Apothecarian, and the Purification Rites out of Overtly Gemerous. Kaios, on the other hand, feels like he's doing a little bit of experimenting. Triple Scout into Dreadnought. I actually kind of like that. I actually do kind of like that. Grenade goes in on Infiltrated Scouts because, although they were not revealed, they were trying to decap a point, so he knew that there had to be something there. So they get out of Infiltration. Ultimately, this is a losing fight for the Dire Avengers anyway. As long as they're just focused on by the attacks, the Scouts could also just get close and just put some damage on them. Do this, yeah, they have a Shotgun Blast, so missile launcher attacks. Oh my god, the Howling Banshee's just absolutely getting mowed down and getting completely wiped. Alright then, so Dreadnought's going to move in. This one is for Cursecrab. Kaios is not out just yet. We'll see what kind of Dreadnought this ends up being. Don't think melee... actually, there are two Howling Banshees in this lane, so it would not be completely inappropriate to keep them as melee, to keep the Dreadnought as melee. But the Assault Cannon would also work wonders here. And oh no, the Falcon! The Falcon is finished off. It just drove into the firing arc of the Devastator Marines. And it was taken out. It's done. Meanwhile, Guardian Weapon Team also super low, but does get out of there alive. He's going to need to keep that Guardian Weapon Team alive. Howling Banshees take out the Shotgun Scouts, but they're going to pay for it with their lives. Oh my god, that's not really worth it. Meanwhile, the Space Marine... Oh my god, is this Overtly Gemerous? He's done it again. He literally has control. He took control of the power away from the Eldar again. And we're seeing it actually takes a fair amount of time without some kind of flamer unit. Like, this is kind of crazy, but I'm almost at the point of suggesting fire dragons just to make sure that they can bash these generators a little bit faster when they get stolen away from them. Meanwhile, we will see the Assault Cannon will be picked up for Kaios here. Kaios, things have been a little rough for Kaios at the start, but now I think this is actually super strong for Kaios. I mean, there's not really a great answer. I mean, finally, yeah, the Brightlands will be brought in, but we can also have that. We can also have the Dreadnought can actually target the Brightlands if it can get close enough. Of course, the Brightlands does outrange the Assault Cannon Dreadnought. All right, double Tactical Marines will be getting suppressed from Cursecrab. One level 2, one level 1, but no Stern Guard veterans. Advanced healing coming in, though. Grenade gonna go in. And no more energy left for the heal, so the Tactical Marines will need to get out of there, I believe. A model went down on each of the tac squads, and that is going to be forcing Cursecrab off the field. Double cap now for our Space Marines, though. Significant victory point lead for them. 417 to 227. I think this is actually the first significant victory point lead that our Space Marine players have had all series. Because even in Game 1, the game where they won, they were actually losing in victory points for most of the game, and then they made their comeback in Tier 2, and then it was a concede when the victory points were actually pretty even. Okay, so at this point, power is finally being retaken by Taneli. We're seeing Tier 3 come in for our Space Marine players. Endor is also in Tier 3. And this is some sneaky stuff happening right here, trying to bash some generators, which, yeah, I mean, this is going to be a little bit slow. We're also seeing a upgrade that you don't actually see that often for the Warp Spider Exarch these days, which is the Power Blaze. It gives him heavy melee, which, it's weird. If you think about it, in some ways, it's... like, at least just think about this in theory. It sounds kind of powerful. Having a teleporting commander who can teleport on a cooldown of about 10, 11, or 12 seconds with heavy melee weapon, that's, at least in theory, quite powerful. But in practice, the ranged weapon upgrades are often preferred on the Warp Spider Exarch. My god. Overtly Gemerous trying to do it again. He gets the decap. He doesn't even get the full cap, but just the fact that he's even doing this, like, it honestly feels like he's in the heads of our Eldar players, or he's just, like, really catching them unaware. And at this point, our Space Marine players are kind of just bullying them, bullying our Eldar players. Second Dreadnought will be coming in for Kaios. And Kaios, I think, has kind of a lock on this lane, because he is up against Taneli. Taneli does not have sufficient answers for the double Dreadnought. He's got the Wraith Guard. That might be a lot of damage. But the thing is, the scouts could literally just tie up the Wraith Guard. They're going to go for grenades, though, and the grenades, oh my god, what a grenade. What a 2 grenades. And one of these shotgun scouts, they're going to go for, they'll go in close range. Ideally, one of the shotgun scout squads actually does want to tie up the Wraith Guard just to prevent them from shooting at all. And the Wraith Guard do not really do significant melee damage. This is quite a game that this is turning out to be, this fourth game in this series. Tempest Barrage going out. I think that's double Tempest Barrage. Tempest Barrage does some disruption. The damage is pretty modest, though. We are seeing these double Dark Reapers trying to shoot at long range. They can outrange the Tactical Marines all day, so they can really like kite the Tactical Marines, but there's not a whole lot that they do against the Dreadnought. And they're kind of letting themselves get into close range. Or actually, no. The thing is, the Dreadnought has extended range, so the Dreadnought's range is actually comparable to the Dark Reapers. What is this going to be? This is going to be a Warp Throw. A Warp Throw, but that's also going to be an Assault Cannon Barrage. Will catch the Dark Reapers. Both sides taking damage. Who comes out on top? Tactical Marines will activate, and they shall know no fear, but the damage of the Dark Reapers is still overwhelming. Meanwhile, the Warlock, actually, Tactical Marine's going to be finished off. This Witchblade of Kurnos doing 71.43 power melee DPS, and again, I feel like this is something that was changed. I'm pretty sure in the past it did not have as high of a number. So, but oh my god, the map is absolutely in the hands of the Space Marines, regardless of that tac kill, and that is indeed the concede. Game number 4 goes in favor of our Space Marine players, which means we will go to a 5th and final game. Our 5th and final game will take place on Katrin Purification Plant. Our first player, Corona Chan, back on the Warp Spider Exarch. Endor, going to be playing as the Farseer like he has been the whole series. There he is. And Taneli back on the Warlock. Their opponents, we're going to have Kaios 23 on the Apothecary, once again, Overtly Gemerous, of course, on the Apothecary. And Cursecrab has now actually really played Space Marine musical chairs, has played every single Space Marine commander. He's actually already done that by last game, but he's returning to the Force Commander. So it looks like slightly more aggressive positioning from our Eldar players to start out. Of course, a lot of that does have to do with the Warp Spider Exarch using his mobility to move a little bit farther and faster. Going to pick up the contested victory point for the Eldar without really any contest. However, Space Marine players starting to move in here. We've got 2 Space Marine commanders in here, both the Apothecary, one of the Apothecaries, the one from Overtly Gemerous, as well as the Force Commander out of Cursecrab. That Force Commander from Cursecrab going to be start hacking away at the Farseer, while the Howling Banshees look to get into melee, but that will mean Battlecry is procced, and we are just going to see special attacks being done every single time, but there's actually so much pressure on the Force Commander from the ranged firepower of the Warp Spider Exarch and the Dire Avengers that will be the Force Commander off the field. Farseer and the Howling Banshees still in here, however. Still going in for melee. Yeah, still going. Still, the pressure is still on from the Eldar players. And even if they end up having to retreat at some point, the Howling Banshees in particular need to be careful about it. But here's another squad of Howling Banshees. They actually will just continue this fight. This is a lot of time that they're buying early on. So, like, not a lot of trading of the victory points, as we will see the victory points probably going to tick down. Oh, we see a back cap, though, from these scouts, so that will be able to stall out the victory points. Overtly Gemerous doing a lot of this little subterfuge tactics. That was, like, bad English. Subterfuge tactics. Throws out a grenade, though, stops the cap to throw a grenade, gets a single model. It does delay him getting the decap on that victory point, though. So victory points will actually be taken down to 451 this early in the game for the Space Marines. Space Marine players finally starting to push back out. Overtly Gemerous looking for the elite training on his scout squad right here so that they can be even more sneaky than they already have been. Taneli getting the better end of things against Chaos 23. Apothecary nearly goes down there, but it also would not have been a great kill on the Apothecary right in front of his base. Makes for a very easy revive for his teammates, and then the teammates also get that experience of the revive. Wow, so Taneli is actually holding strong right in front of Kaios' base. I think he needs to, with what time he has left, he needs to make sure that he finishes off that node to force the Space Marines to spend the 150 requisition to repurchase it, and also it delays the amount of time. It delays them from starting to put down generators, so it's a lot of time that buys by finishing off that node instead of leaving it as it is. Meanwhile, Shotgun Scouts here should be looking for a grenade. How is that one going to do? Does not hit anything at all. I don't know what happened there. I couldn't quite tell. I think things got a little strange with these barrels possibly being in the way. The jump packs have been engaged as the Assault Marines will leap onto the Howling Banshees. They get that disruption. The Howling Banshees take so much fire from the scouts, some damage from the scouts, that they will need to retreat immediately, down to half of their health and a single model lost. All right, our Assault Marines looking to punish our Eldar players pretty hard for their aggression. Victory points have more or less been evened out. Assault Marines getting out of there with 4 models, and we should see some generators going down right here. As the Tactical Marines, they seem to be focusing on the node. No focus on the generators just yet. Dire Avengers are back out here, so our Eldar players, they are responding. Grenade has to go in on those Tactical Marines. Unfortunately, they dodge it. Unfortunately for the Eldar, that is. And it looks like Overtly Gemerous trying to keep them in play long enough to get the decap, but they lose 2 models in the process, and he realizes he needs to retreat them. Otherwise, he might lose the squad. But the scouts will pick it up. They might lose another model. They don't even get it. Oh my god, all right. Overtly Gemerous trying to pull off some of the same shenanigans that he was last game, but this time being punished a little bit harder for it. I think that's the Apothecary going down. Can we have another shot from the long rifles? Yes, we can. Headshot, and that will be 1 dead Apothecary, and in a pretty rough position as well. That is Overtly Gemerous, but we have 2 Space Marine players that in fairly short time could use Laraman's Blessing, and that probably would be ideal unless they want to try to make a play to actually go for the revive. But I think Laraman's Blessing is probably safer and easier. But it is going to take a little bit more red generation from either Chaos or Overtly Gemerous. And then they have to make sure they communicate and don't both use it at the same time and both spend red when they don't have to. Actually, I'm not sure how that interaction would work. Like if maybe you wouldn't even be able to use Laraman's Blessing if no commander is dead. Our war panoply. What does that word even mean? These Eldar throwing out these SAT words as if they even know what the SAT is in the 41st millennium. Rangers, meanwhile, tanking a little bit too much damage. Come on, Rangers, 65 range, 65 range. They outrange just about anything. Anything that's not like a fire prism or a D-cannon. Shotgun Scouts, I don't think they'll be able to get a grenade off on the Howling Banshees. I think it'll miss them, so they're not even attempting. Just trying to chase after with the shotguns. Grenade will go in, though, from this Shotgun Scout squad. The Guardian Weapon Team does retreat, though. It retreats in time so that it doesn't even suffer any damage from the grenade at all. Only some minor damage from the Shotgun Scouts that are chasing. Meanwhile, triple Shotgun Scouts here. They're going to focus down the Warlock pretty quickly, and they'll also be able to focus down these generators pretty quickly as well. This time we're seeing more targeting focus on the generators instead of the node. So that should be 2 generators down pretty soon. Third one is going to go down. I feel like the flame attacks can finish this if they just focus on it. They seem to be doing other things, though, and they might not even finish it. There they go. They do finish it, and now they need to get out of here because the Howling Banshees are approaching. Suppression is coming in. 2 squads of Howling Banshees. Could another model go down on this Tactical Marine squad? Devastator Marines, meanwhile, apparently just declaring open season on the Howling Banshees. It reminds me of that clip from the Dawn of War 2 intro cinematic. Actually, the Devastators took out the Rangers in that cinematic. All right, then. So, Dire Avengers just going to be focusing on the generator. Now focusing on the Apothecary. Apothecary is spending a lot of health just trying to get out of there. He's not even fully out of their range, and he just decides to retreat instead of even using a heal. Shotgun Scouts going in first means they take a lot of damage. Grenade not fully dodged, though. Oh, my God. 3 models go down from that grenade. Not a single Scout model goes down. Low health Tactical Marines in melee, looking for force melee against the Rangers. A heal came in for the Tactical Marines, but not before one of the TAC models went down. This is actually still kind of a questionable fight for the Space Marines. They've got 4 TACs here, but I mean, it's like all damage, no utility. They're trying to commit to overwhelming the Howling Banshees. We still have a squad of Dire Avengers right here. Autarch going to be called in to keep this going. I'm not entirely sure this is worth it, because the Autarch is going to definitely get overwhelmed pretty quickly. Oh no, and getting targeted by full auto as well. Yeah, that unfortunately ended up being a pretty questionable Autarch call-in. And there, in that case, the Tactical Marines really... that one just straight up ran into that. That wasn't even a retreat. That was just straight up ran into it. Tactical Marines really just managed, despite their lack of utility, managed to just use their overwhelming health pools to just last longer than the Eldar in that engagement. So double cap for our Space Marine players. Victory points pretty even as it starts to tick back down in their favor. We will see a Razorback coming out for Cursecrab, and he'll be getting the reinforced plating pretty soon. Meanwhile, this one's oh my God, Witchblade of Kurnos on retreat. That's one dead Scout squad. Okay, yeah, if there's... Certainly, the Witchblade of Kurnos is quite good at killing things on retreat. 25 melee damage. So Kaios loses one of his scout squads in that engagement. We're going to see Devastators upgrading to a las cannon, while this Warp Sweater Exarch currently unupgraded. What other upgrades do we have? Farseer going for Spirit Stones. This is probably a dead Falcon. Okay, it does manage to get out of there. I think these walls block the line of sight for the Falcon to get shot by the las cannon again. Taneli, I know he has the Witchblade of Kurnos, but now he's dead. Apothecary, Purification Rites. The usual build out of Overtly Gemerous with the customized Stormbolter, the Armor of the Apothecarian, and the Purification Rites. And the Power Sword from Cursecrab. I believe he's gotten that before in one of the earlier games in this series. So, this is Taneli, though. Despite not having his Warlock, he will still have significant control over the natural power farm of the Space Marines on this side of the map. Fire Dragons out for Corona-chan, and another triple Ranger build. Oh no. We have a total of 6 Rangers. This is incredibly oppressive against the Space Marine player. We've got 1 Razorback to try to deal with that. Razorback, I do think, is one of the better answers to Rangers, and especially because our Eldar players don't really have too many great answers to vehicles at the moment. We've got not even a Bright Lance here. We've got some Fire Dragons. Fire Dragons can certainly do a lot of damage to the Razorback, but if you get a shotgun scout squad to knock over the Fire Dragons, usually they'll start taking enough damage that they won't be able to stick around too much longer to continue to pursue the Razorback. All right, then. Apothecary is getting in here. This is a pretty big... He might be biting off a little bit more than he can chew, but nevertheless, he's getting some nice special attacks, knocking them over. The Apothecary, he's going to continue doing this. This is Kaios' Apothecary. This just might work. We're probably going to see Witchblade of Kurnos. He's getting in position for the Merciless. He was a little bit slow on that one. He was a little bit slow. It's still actually working out kind of decently, though. Seemed a little bit slow in his positioning with the Ethereal Slash. I thought when he was just right square in the middle, that's when it was going to happen, but it came just about a second or so late. Meanwhile, a Librarian, the first Librarian of the series, and getting forced off there anyway. A lot of ranged firepower coming from our Eldar players that a Librarian is going to have much trouble doing much against. I'm sure the idea there... Oh, I was going to say, I suppose the idea there is to put Veil of Time on a Devastator Marine squad, but it doesn't look like the Devastator Marine squad is around anymore. And then that Veil of Time would make it easier to chase down that Falcon and finish it off, but, you know, with no Devastator Marine squad, it makes things quite a bit tougher. Okay, Wraithlord's going to be out here as well. Oh, but Tactical Marine's going down for Overtly Gemerous. Unfortunately for him, he's been punished quite a bit harder for his commando tactics in this 5th game. So this is now looking pretty bad for the Space Marines. There definitely have been some wipes on both sides, but our Space Marine player is definitely looking worse for wear. Full support, actually not full support Force Commander build, but definitely aggressive damage support build. That I'm almost wondering if that death was intentional to get the 40% damage buff, but I don't know if the units there are in close enough range to even benefit from that damage buff from the Force Commander. Razorback is nearly dead. We need like a shotgun blast on the Fire Dragons. It's not going to come. We're going to see a Force Barrier, but this is looking like the beginning of the end for our Space Marine players, as there's no way they win this fight. Oh my god, look at these Rangers. The March of the Rangers. Tactical Marines will be taking cover behind the husk of the dead Razorback. A very, very small silver lining in what is otherwise looking to be their demise. Howling Banshees will get into melee here. There should be a shotgun blast ready. He's going to attempt a grenade instead. I guess you need a big play at this point if you want to even think about trying to come back into this game. The grenade hits, but it doesn't even kill a single model. Meanwhile, seems like Taneli is actually just handily winning in his lane against Kaios right here. Model will go down. Disruption happens from the whirlwind, but it doesn't mean a whole lot at this point. More generators will get taken down. Autarch is here, level 2, almost level 3. We are going to see a Predator come out from Chaos, and we'll see if that will be enough to make a difference. But it just seems like our Space Marine players, they just don't have much of an army. Okay, the Wraith Lord actually kind of caught out. I think this is a dead Wraith Lord. I believe the Tactical Marines will be able to get another shot off. No, they don't! Are you kidding me? Because Kinetic Pulse. Oh my, what is this? This is an Autarch call-in. Couldn't tell. The indicator was kind of... The secondary grenade indicators were all stacked on top of each other. Should be a dead Tactical Marine squad here. It is, oh no, Overtly Gemerous. He might have been the hero of last game, but this time he has been punished so hard. Okay, so the Predator is now out for Chaos, and he's going to use that to try to fight back against Taneli. And truth be told, Taneli, he doesn't have a whole lot against that. He's going to have the single Brightland soon. But Chaos also not having enough to really even defend against these Banshees. The Banshees going into base at this point. Yeah, I think you're getting a little too overconfident there with the Banshees all the way into base. He wants the kill on the Whirlwind. He upgraded the Autarch to the fusion gun. I think he intended to go all the way in there to try to finish off the Whirlwind, but eventually it just didn't really happen. So double cap for Eldar players. Aside from a double cap, my god, they've got... I'm trying to do some math here. They've certainly got more than double the units of our Space Marine players. I wanted to try to see if I could do enough caster math here to justify saying I think they've got nearly triple the units, but I'm actually... don't want to take a risk on that one. Librarian does not appear to be getting a whole lot done, very sadly. And the Howling Banshees will just retarget from the Librarian over to the Tactical Marines. They'll take out the Tac Sergeant first. And finally, the Howling Banshees will be suppressed, but that also could be Scout Squad going down. I think they'll just barely get out of there alive. My god. Yes, it's more human guns. Unfortunately, the Devastator Marines can do so little in that situation, left by themselves. The Predator is still here, still doing things. Taneli will actually lose the Warlock, I think, going for a decap on this victory point for the Space Marine Natural. This Fire Prism is also being pretty bold. I mean, it can finish off the Predator in 2 shots, but now the Predator can also finish off the Fire Prism in now 1 shot. One more shot, I think, finishes it off, and it does, and he got overeager with that. Yeah. All right, then. So, I'm actually surprised this game is going on as long as it is. It might really just be our Space Marine players just fighting to the last because there's no go next here. It's either you stay in this game, Force Commander going down again, and again it makes me wonder, like, is he doing this intentionally? Like, is he... We don't say this often, I think, in this game, but, like, is he literally feeding? Usually more of a MOBA term, but, like, is he intentionally killing the Force Commander to get that damage buff? Even if he is, it doesn't seem to be working out that well for him. Instant buyback right there. I think it was a buyback, and not a Laraman's Blessing. Apothecary trying to shoot from across the body of water, but ultimately probably just outgunned there. We see some more stealth missions from Overtly Gemerous, but it's not going to be enough at this point. Double cap for Eldar players. I feel like I said the beginning of the end a pretty long time ago. The Space Marine players now finally down to the double-digit victory points. Oh my god, though, Dire Avengers taking so much damage from this Land Raider Redeemer. Down to only the Exarch leader. That is going to be an Eldritch. Raw Eldritch right here. It should catch the Predator. Might also catch the Wraith Lord. It does catch the Wraith Lord, which means that this is probably a dead Wraith Lord, and also means that the Predator probably isn't dead. That was a second Eldritch. Is there even enough to finish off the Land Raider Redeemer? It's being targeted by a Falcon. We have some Fire Dragons trying to move in. At this point, the Eldritch, the Haywire effects have moved off. Okay, more damage is starting to go in. How about the Fire Prism? Fire Prism is targeting the Land Raider Redeemer. I think this Land Raider Redeemer is going down. The Predator has gone down. It's just time. Yeah, And with that, that has to be it. Even if this fire prison goes down, that has to be it. That has to be the end. Even if we take this all the way down to 0 victory points, that fire prism going down there is actually pretty funny, though. Taneli is still trying to pin Kaios in his base. This last game has been pretty brutal, actually. The Eldar, I mean, we've had bullying on both sides, but we will close out this series with some Eldar bully. All right, P-Dev shots going in. And here we're going to have an orbital. The orbital is mostly going to be for fun. Since the P-Dev shot connected on the Dire Avengers, that should be the kill on this Dire Avenger squad at the very least. Rangers, not so sure. Oh, but the P-Dev shots do get some more hits in, but the game will end before that orbital bombardment can take its full effect. That will be it. That will be 3-2 in favor of the Eldar. I hope you enjoyed it, and have a good night.